Welcome to Go Bucks. We are about to have the biggest game in the Big Ten between the Buckeyes and Penn State. It's coming up. It's going to be an awesome game. We have Matt here, the consummate Buckeye, and we have Jason here as well. He's got an awesome podcast himself, and it's called Everything Blues and Southern Rock. Please go check that out.
It's also known as All Things Blues and Southern Rock.
All Things Blues and Southern Rock. Everything, all. But yeah.
Now, hey, Nate, now part of the Pantheon podcast, which also hosts the official Metallica podcast.
What? It's that awesome?
It's that awesome.
You're so that means you're like on the same podcasting
as Metallica.
As Metallica?
That's right.
Jeez, man.
Legit.
Yeah, you guys are moving up.
I'm too good to be on this show. What am I doing?
I know. Yeah, we'll have to.
You were the only one that we knew that could keep us in check.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yep. So we're gonna cover Ohio State and Penn State, the game. We're gonna go over some position groups over Ohio State, just comparing that. There's some injuries we're dealing with. Then after that, Jason, which is why he's in the middle of me and Matt, Michigan versus Ohio State, is gonna interrogate us a little bit, gonna give us the 411, test our knowledge, ask us some hard questions that we don't really ask ourselves.
Just make fun of you.
Yeah, because we're wusses. But in any case, let's get started. Honestly, I'm so excited about this game. It's going to be awesome. It's the best game in the Big Ten so far. But Buckeyes,
Michigan against little brother. It's always a good game.
You still have to talk about that. That's an in-state rivalry.
That's about all we need to talk about in that game. The Spartans are broken. They're so broken. But in any case, let's start outside in on defense. Okay, Denzel Burke. Let's just talk about that dude, Matt. Is he going to play? Do we know? What are your thoughts?
I'm really worried about that because, against Penn State, their passing game hasn't been, super elite. So it's not as big of a deal because we have a lot of depth there. And the strongest part of our team outside of our receivers is our defensive backs, in my opinion. And so, but it's hard when you're losing not just any defensive back who's a starter, but he's our number one, or clearly our number one starter, and he's probably the only person on defense playing at an All-American level outside of maybe one of our defensive tackles. I think those guys are both unbelievable too, but Denzel Burke is probably the most indispensable player on our defense, to be honest. So losing him would be tough. I think it's probably 50-50. I'm actually leaning towards him probably not playing. But God, I sure hope he can play. That's the thing. They don't say anything about injuries. He left the game against Purdue. Broadcasters on Peacock were so bad they didn't even mention the fact that our All-American corner left the game. And usually you watch any other broadcast, when a star player leaves a game, goes into a tent, and then after they go in the medical tent, they just leave and don't come back. Usually they're like panning over to that and talking about that and making a big deal out of it, especially when it's a good player. Peacock didn't even notice. So
Matt, has there been any updates on the injury to him anywhere else that you've seen?
Just people guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Ohio State, the secondary has been a surprise because last year they got torched, at least in the last couple games against Michigan. Well, really, against Penn State last year. I think the secondary gave up like almost 400 yards passing, if I remember right. And we were all surprised at the time, but it was kind of a theme with the big games.
Yeah, our secondary wasn't. They were definitely better earlier in the season. Like Ransom had a good first half, and he tailed off towards the end. But the big surprise really on our defense this year is the biggest surprise is Proctor. Proctor's playing at an All-American level at safety, and Burke. It's not as big of a surprise because 2 years ago he was really good his freshman year, but he had a sophomore slump, wasn't very good last year, and now he's turned it around and has been really good this year. I wouldn't call him amazing, but he's definitely really good. So losing him would be rough, but Matthews I think is supposed to step in for him, and he had a pick six earlier in the year, and he's played really. I think he had the highest rating of any of our defenders, and he was the replacement for Burke against Purdue. So he's played well when he's played this year.
So if Burke doesn't play, are we going to call that a weakness for the Buckeyes?
No.
The secondary still won't be a weakness?
No, it's still the strength. They have so many good people, even the backups.
Interesting.
Hey, it's part of that too. Are they getting more pressure on the quarterbacks this year? Where last year they had quarterback had a little more time to find a receiver.
So Nate, you answer that first, then I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah, creating pressure, the Buckeyes. So it's interesting. They do create pressure at times, but it's really we can probably talk about that with their defensive line. They they're not helping out their DBs at all. They're not getting sacks. They're not getting any tackles for losses. Not any, just very few. It seems even against bad competition. So whatever the DBs are doing, they're all doing it on their own. So they may be awesome. We'll find out, I guess, this weekend.
So I'm going to explain it to Jason and see how he would wrap his head around this, because I've never personally seen anything like it either. So I don't know enough about the defensive schemes where I'm sure they're trying to get sacks a lot, but they, like a week ago before the Purdue game, I don't know how it is now, probably a little bit better, but we were the best at getting pressure. We had the best pressure rate. It was like adjusted pressure rate of anyone in the Big Ten, and one of the top in the country. But also, as far as tackles for loss and sacks, we're one of the lowest in the country. But then, you look at that; those are usually havoc plays. Those are usually very helpful to winning games. But then you also look at our, yards per play and points per play given up. Those are top 3 to 5 nationally. So how do you have such good baseline defenses in your pass defense? The run defense is the weaker of the two, but overall the total yards and the scoring defense are like some of the best we've had ever, and all that's happening without any kind of tackles for loss or sacks. So make sense of it for me, Jason. Have you ever seen any team do something like that before? Because it doesn't make sense.
Not really, but I would say too, if they've got a stat on how long the quarterbacks have to get rid of the ball before they're hit or pressured, that may tell a lot. You may not be getting a lot of sacks, but they may be hurriedly throwing the ball out.
Yeah, that's all I could think of. Yeah, that's a good point.
Very true. Okay, so you're calling it a strength. If you lose Burke, I'm calling that a weakness. I'm saying secondary is a weakness. So,
but the Matt's point, though, the scoring defense is like they're not hardly giving up points this year at all. Now, granted, they haven't really played too many tremendous teams, but they're not giving up hardly any points at all.
Yeah, I mean, if Proctor, Ransom, and Igbinosa are all playing at a stellar level, not all American, but I would say stellar, or
they
definitely
held Notre Dame in check, right? And that's probably the best offense they face outside of West Kentucky.
Maryland actually had the best offense.
No, Diego's not on this. Let's not start with Maryland. Is always a sham every year. Let's not.
No, but you
play a real team when they're no good.
You look at our defenses in 2020, 2021, and 2022. We still gave up lots of big plays, even against like the really bad teams. We would still win and not give up too many
Maryland's
points.
No litmus test for anybody. That's good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're an elite team or anything. I'm just saying, not just Maryland. I'm just saying all the teams that we played last year and the last 3 years, we always give up big plays, even to the bad teams, and always give up like 20 points or something. And this year we're giving up less than 10 points a game. So it's very unusual that our defense is doing that well. And, they've been putting a lot of different players also in the secondary. Like I said, Matthews has played, and even if Burke isn't playing, obviously that's a step down, but you still have 3 of the 4 starters, and Sonny Styles plays there part-time also. So, we have secondary players that have been playing phenomenal. Like they're, the best on the team outside of maybe our defensive tackles.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll say Matt's going with a strength, so I guess we'll find out. Let's work our way in. So the linebackers. I know how Matt feels about his linebackers this year. They're a little plain, not doing great. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that a weakness. There are no injuries in there, but I'm going to call it a weakness. You can't even get your 5-star players in there for some reason. Who's that dude that's a 5-star? Is a sophomore this year? They got busted all up.
Oh yeah, they played him actually at the end of Purdue, and he didn't do anything, and apparently he graded out poorly. So he's an athletic freak, but hasn't clicked with him yet. So really the problem is so Eichenberg was like, I think he was a second team All-American or something last year, and he's been playing average. He's the best, but he's been playing average. And then Steele Chambers is apparently better in pass coverage, although I still don't think he's that good, because every time teams really attack us in the pass game, it's over the middle where the linebackers are. Because, especially against Notre Dame, you saw all the big catches that Notre Dame had were against our linebackers. I mean, they just got, it was like 90% completion against those guys. So, I mean, granted, they have a superstar tight end, but still, I mean, they caught everything over the middle. And, that's really been the whole weakness. So, if, Penn State does have a good tight end, not as good as Notre Dame. Their second tight end actually makes some good plays too. And then the running back makes some plays. So I'm guessing like the majority of their pass plays are going to be their tight end or their running back. I don't think the receivers are going to do much. They also are they're almost like dead last in like explosive plays. So that's what I'm saying. Like even if Burke is out and even if his replacement isn't as good as him, and even if he's just average, they don't make explosive plays in the pass game. They can make some plays at the tight end for first downs and stuff, but they don't make big plays.
Sounds like they're going to be making a lot of money on your linebackers in that passing game.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to get first downs on the linebackers. That is the weakness. Everybody knows it. It's just a matter of maybe we can get some deflections from the line and get some interceptions, because even Steele Chambers has got interceptions before. So
what about the running game? Like, where are the linebackers? Where do you put like the defending the running game on the linebackers equal to the defensive line? And I'm only asking because the Buckeyes have not been great against the run.
No, their linebackers, they've been missing gaps, and they've been terrible against the run too. Like they give up, like you'll have like a couple drives in a row, like even, against Purdue where, we're shutting them down. They're making tackles for loss. They're doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, some guy named Maccabee that nobody knows is getting like 15 and 30-yard runs.
You don't know Maccabee?
I mean, but not just him, but even scrub running backs and other teams are still breaking off bigger runs. Not like huge runs, but that's the the difference, because our safeties are so good. They are not giving up any big plays this year, but they're still making 15 to 20, 30-yard runs on occasion, and good linebackers are not letting that happen.
So I didn't watch the Purdue game. Jason, listen to this. So Purdue had a running back run for over 100 yards, more than 6 yards a carry on the Buckeyes during that game. And I'm contending that I don't think that the Buckeye running game is fixed. I mean, I was saying that last year it was better than it was the year before, and maybe they've had incremental improvement, but it just does not seem like that Buckeye run game, that run defense is really starting to.
Well, what was Purdue's offensive strength? Are they more of a passing team and they were scheming against more of that and okay to give up some of those soft runs?
They do both. I mean, he's done well. Their running back has done well all year. He's one of the better running backs in the Big Ten, but still, it's Purdue, and they're a decent passing team.
It's Purdue, right? Nobody really.
Yeah. I mean, they're not special offensively, but they're definitely a solid team. But again, like a good portion of that was like on the very first drive of the game. We probably gave up 40 of those yards on the first drive. For whatever reason, they had something schemed up where our guys were not able to stop it. And, they went down the field, but then we ended up stopping them, so they got no points out of it. And then they didn't really run again. I think they may have, in the middle of the game, they may have had one 20-yard run or something. And then in the fourth quarter, he also, when our backups were in, got some more yards too. So it was sort of a weird thing, good in the first quarter, good at the end against the backups, and, a few sprinkled in throughout the game. But like I said, Nate's sort of right. If we have elite linebackers, this guy's not getting any of these big yards.
Well, and if your linebacker play is not that great either, that just opens you up to give yards running the ball.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Is like no one. The reason why I think it's not as big of a concern. I mean, our defensive line is covering for it because they're making a lot of defensive plays to stop the running game, even when the linebackers are screwing up. So even if you have a couple plays where the linebacker gives up a big play, you'll have the next two plays the defensive tackles are destroying people. So they're covering a lot for how bad the linebackers.
What athletic linebacker were you talking about that wasn't kind of able to make it on the field?
I think it was Hicks. Yeah.
CJ Hicks.
Yeah. He was a 5-star, like I think number 2 in the country out of all positions.
I think he's from Dayton.
And he is. I mean, maybe in a year or two he'll be good, but he's not there yet.
Yeah.
Is that bad coaching and development from those guys? And if you're getting these good, 5-star, 4-star recruits.
Well, Well, explain this. So if Eichenberg was an All-American last year, and then this year he's playing, I mean, he's not bad this year, but he's definitely just like playing at an average level. He's not doing well. So how does that happen? So his coach was good, same coach. So like, they did change the scheme this year. So the scheme last year was more attacking, and so he was getting lots of tackles for loss last year, but we were also giving up big plays. So this year we're not attacking, and we're trying to play more, bend but don't break. And when we do that, we're giving up more yardage on the ground, and we're giving up the plays over the middle. So it seems like the linebackers aren't generating like they're good at pass rushing, but they don't do the pass rushing this year because of the different change in philosophy. Because Ryan Day, after losing to Michigan and to Georgia, he's like, look, this attacking philosophy you had at Oklahoma State, it's not working for us. It's cost us a national championship potentially 2 years in a row. So we need to do a defense that's not going to be giving up these big plays. So that's what he's doing this year, and our defense has improved immensely, but our linebackers are not doing well in this new stylistic change.
Well, think about the run game for Penn State too. Katron Allen is
They're
also,
not that good. No, they're not.
well,
Look at their
you're
stats. They
thinking
were
about
good
their
last year.
five-star.
They were good
Katron
last
Allen
year.
is still real good.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, he's still doing good.
Maccabee has better stats than that dude.
Yeah, but against Iowa, I think even Katron Allen was over 6 yards a carry. So
I'm just saying for the year, one of their running backs is like 4.1 and the other one's like 4.6. They're
well,
both like in the country, they're both like, 80th and 107th in rushing yards per game. I mean, they're above average, but compared to previous years, like last year, they were really good. They were stars last year, both of them. But this year,
hey,
they're both average.
give them a break.
Above
Give the
average.
guys a break. They can't play the Buckeye defense every week,
Yeah, well, I just think they're living on hype like last year, just like Donovan Edwards was, your best running back last year. He's trash this year, and
Yeah.
Corum is doing well, but he's not doing as well as he did last year.
Hey,
He's not getting nearly as many carries either.
They're saving them too. I mean, they've
Yeah, but I mean his yards per carry and everything are down.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, we'll find out about the good news is we're going to find out this weekend.
Well, I'm just glad that your center is finally in the NFL and not playing for you guys anymore, because he's the one that wrecked our team last year.
We'll find out. We'll find out. All right, let's go to the defensive line for the Buckeyes versus Penn State. So, all right, the defensive ends have been a little disappointing because they've been 5 stars. We remember what they are ranked, right? Both of them top 5, JTT and Jack. Both top 5 overall 5-star players. And they can't get sacks. And I know the quarterbacks are getting the ball out fast.
Well, they did against Purdue finally. Does that count?
Yes, I did see that. I did see them show up on the stat sheet, those two guys, but it's about time. But I don't know. Maybe they've just been bored. Maybe once they play in this game, they'll ball out. You never know. What do you think, Matt?
No, I don't think they will ball out. Not
Fair
on
enough.
defensive ends.
Right.
I think. I mean, well, first of all, their left tackle is an All-American. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. No one's doing anything against that guy. So the only question then is whoever is going to. So what we did last year was Tuimoloau was locked up against him and didn't do much. And then towards the at some point in the game, they switched him over to the weak link on the right tackle, and he abused that guy. Had the best individual performance by a defensive lineman, or actually probably by a defensive player ever. I mean, the guy had 2 touchdowns, couple fumble recoveries, interception for a touchdown, just absurd numbers. I've never seen anything like it. And it took a superhuman performance for us to win that game. So if he didn't go off, like we would probably have lost that game. I mean, they played really well against us last year. And, but I think, whoever, maybe they'll rotate, between Tuimoloau and Sawyer. I don't know if what they're going to do against that guy. I'm guessing they're just going to focus on other areas of their line the rest of their line is good, but not great. So I think we're going to have a lot of success up the middle. Tyleik Williams was the only person, our defensive tackle, who was named to the ESPN All-American team. Not that ESPN knows what they're doing, but I mean, everyone pretty much agrees he's the superstar on the defense. And Mike Hall is also very good. And, Tuimoloau he's like hit or miss. So some games he's, does a little bit. Like one of his sacks against Purdue didn't really count because no one blocked him for some reason. Yeah, let's just not block 44.
Yeah.
So he got a free run, but he and Sawyer did have one where they both beat their guy and got to the quarterback at the same exact time for a nice double sack. But they're doing the other things well. They're doing well against the run game and they're getting pressure. They're just not getting the sacks. So I'm just hoping that they can knock some balls down at least and make Drew Aller a little bit scared when he's back there. But I think the real question on the defense is going to be is Knowles going to be more attacking against him because he is a first year quarterback, or is he going to continue doing the same safe bend but don't break defense we've done all year that's been successful, or is he going to change that up?
Well, question on that though. I mean, Ohio State, a lot of the games you've played other than Notre Dame and maybe Maryland, you don't really need to do a bend but don't break defense against crap teams, do you? So, I mean, that's a good question. I think Jim Knowles is going to attack in this game, just personally speaking.
Really?
Because Drew Aller is a new starting quarterback. He's a true sophomore. He's not very mobile. If I've been watching Penn State correctly, anyway, I haven't watched a lot of them, but he's not a super mobile dude.
Who's Penn State's best matchup so far up to this game?
West Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia's not that good.
Iowa. I would say Iowa.
Iowa usually has a pretty decent defense.
They've got a good defense.
How did they play him?
Pretty good. He threw 4 touchdown passes against them.
Yeah, he beat him like 31-0 or something. They smoked Iowa somehow.
Iowa never scores, and you jabronis were talking about Iowa's offense is going to be better this year. I didn't believe it.
Yeah, Iowa. Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure. I don't think they got a lot of yards. They did not do well yardage wise against them, but what happened was I think Iowa's offense was so inept, and Penn State has a great defense too. So they just kept getting great field position and having short drives.
Yeah, but I just was wondering from defensive scheming, did they try to pressure the quarterback, or did they lay back and try to have him make mistakes just throwing the ball?
Drew Aller had 4 touchdown passes and not a lot of yards. I think they were all short touchdown passes.
Yeah, he probably passed for like 140 or something.
He game managed well enough to get 31-0 victory.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was mostly just the defense and being able to score in the red zone. Because they said they didn't have any real drives the whole game. It was all short fields.
It's their best game, and they played West Virginia, and they played Delaware. They've played some bad.
They played two FCS teams.
Yikes!
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Two.
Bad.
Even Michigan didn't do that.
Yeah. When you're worse than Michigan in scheduling, that's bad.
Some of the Big Ten teams can kind of go for like FCS teams easily.
Northwestern this year, Michigan State, really bad.
All right, let's wrap up the defense here. So, what do we think? Is this going to be a positive or negative for Ohio State?
Oh, huge positive.
You think that's the strength?
They've been a positive all season long, so it's hard to believe they wouldn't still be a positive even in this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, the only points they're getting is when they exploit the tight end. Our linebackers, whether it's the running back catching passes or the tight end. I'm sure they'll catch like one big pass with a receiver or something, but most of it's going to be tight end and running back, and they're just going to get lots of 4-yard runs. Hopefully, we can stop them enough so the bend but don't break actually works like it's been doing. But they haven't done how we said that their schedule hasn't been good, but the 2 teams that they did play that were ranked decently. It was outside of West Virginia, I think there's one other team, was it Rutgers or someone? But whoever it was, as their second decent team, their offensive stats, Aller's stats against both those teams were really bad. It was like a combined 2 touchdowns and 2 picks or something. Mm-hmm. So it was against the average teams that were on their schedule. They did not do well. They're padding their stats like Michigan against these scrub teams.
Interesting. All right. I'm going on record of saying that I think the defense is going to struggle against Penn State a little bit, mainly because of the running game, not because of the passing game. I still agree with you that the secondary probably will still be a little bit of a strength, but I don't feel good about that. If Burke plays, they're good. Otherwise, I don't agree with that. But let's run on to the offense. We'll start with the offensive line. So 2 new tackles for this year, replacing 2 NFL tackles who are starting in the NFL right now. they've been a little iffy. I know. I know the center has been. Your center's actually played okay.
No, I think he's like one of the worst on the team right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, darn it! I was gonna not be a hater for a second.
Well, at the beginning of the year, he was
I'll
okay.
go back.
He's been giving up a lot of pressure.
Okay, so the tackles aren't playing really good. The center's not playing really good. Donovan Jackson's all right, right? It's the only name I know.
No, I think the tackles have stepped up. At the beginning of the year, it was the tackles, and in the middle was playing better. And then we've had a couple games where Donovan Jackson and Matthew Jones weren't playing that well. They're playing a little bit better now, and the center is having some issues here and there, but the tackles have been much better because they haven't had any experience out there, so they're finally getting experience and they're stepping it up. They some of the plays I've watched where people are saying Fryer gave up a sack or something to McCord. Well, like one of them, like McCord dropped back like 11 steps. He never stepped up into the pocket, so eventually he gets sacked, and that was totally on the quarterback, not the tackle. So you have to look and see like when these guys are getting sacks, whose fault is it, the quarterback or the tackle? So you have a young quarterback, so he's really the biggest liability, more so than the line, in my opinion, at this point, because the line is good enough. They're not elite or anything, but I was happy that Purdue threw a lot of interesting blitzes against them, because our pass defense overall has been pretty solid this year. This was probably the most pressure we've given up all year, and McCord had some problems with it. One, he had like a huge loss where he got like a intentional grounding where he threw it to the running back, and it was like a 17-yard loss. So it didn't matter whether it was grounding or not. Either way, it was a terrible play. He should have threw it away. So a lot of these, sometimes it's the pressure, and like he just doesn't see the blitzes. Like if it'll be like one of the corners or something blitzing, like they had a couple of corner blitzes that just absolutely destroyed him. That he didn't see it before the snap and wasn't ready for it. So I don't know. Like obviously the line is not elite this year, but I think they're good enough, and I think the majority of the line problems, at least with pass protection, are with the quarterback and not the line. Now run blocking, that's a different scenario. So run blocking all year they've been trash until this week. So this week,
against Purdue.
Against Purdue, they finally had a really good day running the game, and it wasn't because of Purdue, because they have a decent defensive line. I think the biggest change was actually schematically. They did a lot of, instead of doing the zone runs to the side that they've been trying to do all year, those weren't working at all. They just kept trying to do them. Like every now and then Trey would break a big run, but overall, the running backs are just not getting anything, trying to do these stretch plays. And so this year, they started against Purdue, they started doing all these gap runs and power runs, where it's just man on a man and not doing this zone blocking stuff. And then they also had a bunch of plays, since we were down to our fourth running back. So we have Dallin Hayden coming in. He was amazing. He actually is the only running back on our team that has good vision. And we had him, and then we also had Xavier Johnson, who's a wide receiver, but they were using him as sort of like a slash type position where he was lining up to the side, and they would either fake to him or hand it off to him, and sort of as a like receiver slash. I mean, he's just like basically playing like slash Cordell Stewart. He was playing that position, and he made a ton of runs. And whether they would fake to him or give it to him, or they would give it to Dallin Hayden, and both those guys were tearing it up the whole game. And I was just like, wow, our running game is working now. So I'm kind of wondering how much of this is schematic versus offensive line blocking. It seems to me like it just, everyone knew what we were doing and they knew how to stop it. And this is the first time we tried something different, and all of a sudden it worked.
Interesting. So I'm going to go on record here and say Ohio State's a liability. The offensive line is a liability. When
Definitely.
you compare it going up against Penn State and
Yeah.
Chop Robinson, and the way
Yeah.
you're explaining it right now, this could be an issue. And we'll get
Oh, it's definitely going to be an issue against that defense.
We'll get to the quarterback too, but he's going to have to understand where the pressure's coming from in this game. Kyle's going to have to, because if the offensive line is going to not protect, which it sounds like this could be an issue, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. Let's go to running backs. So this is where we're getting into the injury bug again. So how many running backs are injured? I know Travion Henderson is injured.
So I think there's a good chance. So Travion is our number one back. He could have probably played last week. He actually warmed up and did all the stuff that they do during warm up. He looked like he probably could have gone, and I think that they just held him out because it was Purdue. Yeah. If it was a real game, he would have played.
Well, they knew the game.
And it was raining. It was raining too. So why would you bring someone back who you don't need? You don't need him at all. So I think he'll play. I'm probably like 90% that Trey's going to play. And then I think Chip Trainum had a horrible concussion. I think he'll be out. He's actually a really good pass catcher too, surprisingly. So that's one of the areas I think we would miss with him. But Trey's good at that, but they just don't ever throw to him very much for some reason. Mayan Williams is, I heard that he was like overweight in the offseason, and that's why he wasn't playing early. And then he played really well against Maryland towards the end of the game when he got some carries. And then at some point he got hurt, I guess, in that game, and he didn't play against Purdue. I have no idea what his status is.
Mayan Williams is like a 6th-year senior.
Yeah, he's been here forever.
And he's overweight at this point in his career? Dude.
Apparently coming into this season he was. That's a rumor. That's, who knows if that's true, but that's what I heard. And then, so Chip, we don't know if he's coming back. Chip Trainum probably out again because of that horrible concussion. I mean, he's a really bad concussion. It's bad when you get up after the concussion and you try to run to the sideline and you fall down again. That's never a good sign.
He's a good running back too. Chip
I like him.
A good running back. I like him. He can be out there like an every down type of back. Yeah. And he's, from what I've seen, is decent at blocking. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he's a good runner. He's a good pass catcher.
Yeah. And then we get to number 4. So the big discussion this last week in Buckeye land is, why isn't Dallin Hayden playing more? And from the coach's comments and from any kind of reasonable thinking, it's because the guy can't pass protect.
Can I opine on that?
Yeah.
I don't have any inside information, but Dallin Hayden didn't really show up except after last year. I think he played against Maryland.
Yeah.
And played good. I don't think Dallin Hayden is really as good as everyone is thinking he is. If he can't get on the field with injuries, unless someone's injured, and they were going to redshirt him this year, that does not sound like he's going to be a superstar. I mean, you just don't redshirt guys as sophomores and that are superstars.
Did you see him play though against Purdue? Also, did you see that at all? Well, he has great vision. His vision is really good. None of our other running backs have the vision that he does. It's clear, so he doesn't have the breakaway. So all the running backs are so different. So Trey has really good breakaway speed, but if you blow on him, he'll fall over. He has no ability to break a tackle at all. But he doesn't need to sometimes because he's so fast. He'll probably be a first-round pick just because of his speed. But he's not running through the tackles type of a running back, because he goes down too easy. And Chip Trainum is sort of, I don't think, he's fast too, but he doesn't seem like he has the vision either. If the run is blocked well, he can, get 8 to 10 yards and then he can punish someone at the end of it. So he's fun to watch, but he doesn't have the vision either. Mayan Williams doesn't have vision, but he's fast and he can, knock people over. So that works for college. He's, I don't think Chip or Mayan will be NFL backs. And Dallin Hayden is really good vision, but he doesn't have the breakaway speed that Trey has. And his other weakness, of course, what everyone has been saying is he can't, including the coach, they keep asking him, why isn't Hayden playing? And the coach is saying, he does really well when we ask him to run. So he's not saying that he can't pass block, but the way he words the answer, and he did it twice in the press conference, is, it's very clear that he's having pass protection issues. And a couple of the times where McCord got killed and, fumbled was because he missed a block. He doesn't know what he's doing yet. And against Penn State, you can't be having him out there on major pass plays, losing a turnover, run back for a touchdown because your running back doesn't know how to pick up blocks. So that's a big liability against a team like Penn State with a great defensive line.
Yeah, I'm calling this one. So offensive line and now running backs is going to be a win for Penn State, not for Ohio State. Not
I
a
would
strength.
agree.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Let's get to the wide receivers then. Wide receivers. More injuries. Like you've got what's the 411? Excuse me.
So the good thing is I heard that the injury to Mecca was a contusion. So it seems to me if you just have a contusion, that's just like a really bad bone bruise. So it seems like it's like just a pain tolerance issue. Obviously, didn't have to play him against Purdue, let it rest up. So it seems like he could probably play because it's not like it's a sprained ankle or hamstring or something that's going to take time to heal. Like it's just, it's just going to hurt, but it shouldn't affect his ability to play.
If I had a contusion, I know that I wouldn't be playing.
That's because you're.
You know what? I mean, he's
You're
just
like
play through
50
pain,
years
right?
old, and you can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call a Mecca, tell him Matt says you just got to play through some pain. It's no big deal.
Listen, a
Yeah,
young guy, a peak athlete, he can do it. The three of us, middle-aged dudes, no.
They'll wrap him up and shoot him up with something or whatever it is they've got in that little magic.
Yeah, I think he will play. And he's one of the superstars on the team. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. He's a beast, and he's all the third downs. Him and Marv are always converting third downs. Like they're both huge. He made that huge play to help win the game against Notre Dame. I mean, the guy's just been clutch his whole career here. So I fully expect him to play. And if he doesn't play, obviously it's a big loss, except for the fact that Tate and Innis both came in and played ridiculous in his place
versus Purdue
against Purdue. It was, they both were. Tate had a bunch of catches that were clutch and really showed that he could do whatever it took. And then, but he didn't have like the explosive, super explosive play. Whereas Innis came in and our backup quarterback threw like a 58-yard touchdown to him on his first catch at Ohio State. So he looked really good. And that was the other thing. So we were talking about running game. Remember how our red zone running game has been an issue for a while now?
2 years, yeah.
So,
2 years.
at least 2 years. And so Devin Brown came in at quarterback and in the red zone, and they were able to, move the ball really well with him. He did have one really terrible pass when he was down there. Luckily, it was like in the dirt or something, but he ran well and got one touchdown running, and then the other touchdown would have been a touchdown. So he almost had two. The second one, the safety nailed, like dove at him, and his helmet hit the ball. So when you're good enough to knock it out with your helmet, most people are going to lose it. That was just a really good play by the defender. So, you got to hold on to it, but that's a tough one to blame a quarterback on. If it's a running back, you can maybe give him a little more blame because quarterbacks aren't the strongest at holding on to balls. And that was a good defensive play, not just like he just dropped it or something. But it really opens up the running game in the red zone when you have to worry about an extra. You don't have that to have an extra person you got to worry about. So you have him or the running back. Plus he can throw it if not as accurately as Kyle, but it's still an option. So I don't know if they were doing that just to see if it worked or to just put it on film so Penn State would have to worry about it.
No, I'm sure they're going to use that. I mean, I don't know if they'll do that against Penn State, but I can imagine them still doing that if it seemed to work. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of JT Barrett when he came in, and I think it was the year. What was the year after you guys won the national title, and there was a quarterback controversy.
Yeah,
and he came in and ended up starting for the second half of the year or something like that.
Yeah,
but he came in and looked awesome. I remember that. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, JT Barrett looks awesome, and like starting at the 10-yard line. But eventually he took over. So I guess you never know. If Kyle doesn't perform, he's there.
Yep.
Too funny. So listen, Penn State, what I've heard anyway, and before we get to quarterbacks, what I've been hearing, and can't put my finger on it specifically, is Penn State's defense is built to beat Ohio State and their type of offense, really the modern offense. So not necessarily.
It certainly doesn't work against Michigan's offense.
Michigan, they can't handle like a pounding team. And I'm hearing that from like
Nate, can you handle a pounding?
Silver star goes to Jason. Chimed in there. I'm ignoring that. So
I see that.
So basically, yeah, against Michigan, no, not so much. But last year against Ohio State, they seem to have some Penn State some success even against CJ Stroud
Yep,
until JTT went off.
correct.
So overall, I've got to go right now with talking about the offense. And now we talked about Kyle a little bit, but it really does seem like Penn State has the advantage right now, really on defense versus Ohio State's offense. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Both defenses have the advantage, in my opinion.
Very interesting. So we're going to be at another 0-0 at halftime. That's possible, isn't it?
Well, I think
Like Notre
I
Dame.
think we both have young Well, we both have inexperienced. They're not young. We both have inexperienced quarterbacks, and the difference really is going to be, like which defense is going to be able to force bad play. I don't think one of these two quarterbacks is just going to play really well and win because of it. I think it's going to be one of them is going to have some fumbles or interceptions, and that's why the other team will win.
Where you're going to need the defenses to hold for good field
Yeah,
position because you don't expect a lot to come out of these quarterback and the offenses.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, we've got two quarterbacks that have this is your first year starting. I
They're going to
mean,
need short
frankly,
fields to really make a chance to score some points.
Yeah.
Kyle
So it'll
McCord,
be
of course.
if we
Kyle
get in the red
McCord,
zone, we got to score and then not make stupid, fumbles where they're returned for touchdowns or interceptions that are returned to the 20 or something. I mean, whoever does that is going to win. Like it's not
Why
going
don't
to
they
be.
throw more like jump balls to Harrison or something when they get down?
Well, I agree.
I
That
mean, you
would be
got
a
this
good.
dude who's a freak of nature and then has a height advantage.
Yeah, well, they tried to throw it to him a lot. He actually had the most drops I've ever seen him have in any game against Purdue. Part of that was the rain.
Rainy. Yeah.
Part of it was just he had an off day.
Yeah, it happens. But again, just generally speaking, they get down in the red zone or close to the
Yeah,
goal line. You typically take advantage of your overall offensive talent on the receiver position like that.
yeah. Well, who we haven't talked about is one of the other reasons why our offense is doing so well is our tight end Farmer Gronk has been an absolute stud.
I can't believe that's the guy's real name. I thought it was like Gronkowski's cousin or little brother or something. That's Farmer
yeah,
Gronk. I mean, seriously, what the fuck? That's bad.
his last name's Stover. He just, I think, grew up on a farm or something like that. But yeah,
Cade Stover,
JJ,
yeah, he's hilarious.
JJ's
He's really good. He's a touchdown machine.
JJ's comment about Henderson, he could be a game changer. He was last year, if I remember right. JJ, I think Henderson had a run that actually turned the game a little bit, and
Yeah.
maybe in the fourth quarter.
Well,
I think it was.
if he's healthy and starts, I'm sure he's going to have some big plays.
But you
'cause that's
got to
all
be
he
able to
does.
have that line at least get him not
Yeah.
touch the line of scrimmage a couple yards off the line, though.
He has to
Yeah.
have no barriers to entry at all.
Yes.
Like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, look against Notre Dame, he didn't have any runs really, except for one that was blocked really well to the edge, and then he outran everyone for 75 yards, got a touchdown. That was the difference in the game. I mean, we don't get that big run, we lose.
Yeah, I think JJ's next comment's right. I'll go with that. I think Cade Stover will have a great game.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what? We skipped the tight end. You're
Yeah.
right.
We're taking JJ took care of it for us.
Out of
So thank you, JJ.
Yeah. Yeah, Cade Stover is probably the most so we were busting on Marv for dropping, probably 4 drops against Purdue. Cade Stover has 0 drops this year. And has made some fantastic catches. He's
Well, when your
averaging
line's
like
not doing
15
a
yards a carry or something absurd. He's like
when your
top 20
line's
in
not
the,
doing a
in the
great job
country.
blocking, those short passes, intermediate
Yeah.
passes really become necessary, and that's where your tight ends come into play a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
that's his liability. Like we always have these guys like Hayden and Stover are super talented, but neither of them can block worth a damn.
Yeah.
Stover he played really good, or as a receiver anyway, I think for the first 3 quarters of the year last year, and then fell off.
He got injured against Georgia, so that he got injured in like the first quarter or something. That was a huge liability losing him.
I was scared of him actually in the Michigan game, but it ended up he was more of a liability in the Michigan game last year. He should have had a touchdown, but Mikey Sainer still knocked the ball right out of his hands there in the fourth quarter. Just an awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the plays of the game.
Yeah, it absolutely was. But hopefully, I don't see him having another bad game. That's a problem. But yeah, so awesome. Let's go on to another segment here. I think we kind of talked about Penn State, but first, before we do that, let's actually have let's pick our winners. Like, what do you think? Let you go first, Matt, because I have a feeling I think I know who you're going to pick, but none of us can actually feel good about our picks because I don't know who's going to win this game.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like having, like Kyle has had a lot of passes this year that could have been interceptions. He only has one interception on the year. The line does give up some pressure. A lot of it's just him not checking the pre-reads to see, okay, this guy's really close on the line. He could probably be blitzing, and he doesn't. He acts like it wasn't even a possibility, and then he gets destroyed. So, he's not super good at that, but he is really good at avoiding the pressure when it comes to him. So, like, there was a couple big corner blitzes where he should have been destroyed, and he, did a 360 and just avoids it. So he's really good at avoiding the pressure. He just has to make sure he doesn't make those. His big problem on the year is throwing off his back foot, which he's been doing a lot. Almost got picked off at the end of the Notre Dame game. Almost had a few. They're quite, like so many plays that should be touchdowns, but they ends up being that the receiver has to wait for the ball in the air, and then he catches it, and then there's no yards after catch because he doesn't lead the receivers. He's always throwing off his back foot for some reason. It seems like 80% of the time he's doing that. So I don't know. It's a big issue. I'm really worried about him throwing interceptions or getting fumbles because he's not reading the defenses and, picking up those blitzes because he just doesn't know when they're coming. So I'm concerned that he's going to be more of a liability on that, even more so than the Penn State quarterback. I just think that our defense is better than theirs, even though statistically theirs is better. But I'm going to chalk up to them just playing really, really bad teams, because I think our defense overall is actually a better defense than theirs by quite a bit. So it's just a matter of whether our defense can pull it out. And I think the big difference really in the teams is our defenses are both good. I think ours is a little bit better. And I think our offense is significantly better than theirs. So if, unless all these guys we're talking about are actually out, we don't have Burke, we don't have Emeka, we don't have Trey, then I think we're going to lose. But I think Trey's going to play. I think Emeka has at least a 50-50 chance, maybe 75-25 chance that he'll play. Burke, we just don't know because there's been zero, we didn't see him warming up or anything, after his injury. So we don't know, we just have no idea what his injury even is. So, losing him would be tough, even though our depth is really good there. You can't lose an All-American player. But, I still think we're, going to win. I think it's just going to be a really low-scoring game. I think it's going to be 17-14 Ohio State or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Matt. I go about 17-13 myself. I think both defenses are pretty good. Offenses are a little suspect for sure, more so than the defenses. I'm no fan of McCord by any means. I've never watched a game and had that dude inspire confidence, but there are a lot of good playmakers out there, receiver and some other places that are going to help. But if he's the person that's going to be responsible for winning the game, they're going to lose. But I don't think it's going to go down to that. But they're at home against Penn State. That helps.
Definitely helps.
It's still Penn State against Ohio. Penn State just doesn't ever seem to beat Ohio State either. So I'm going to go ahead and call it low score, 17-13. It's going to be a defensive struggle. There's going to be one or two key turnovers with short fields that are going to give Ohio State a chance to score some points, and that's what's going to happen.
So you're calling Ohio State going to be winning?
Yeah, 17-13. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, JJ made a couple of comments about paper tiger defense for Penn State. I think that's definitely a possibility because they've not played one. It's just difficult.
But Ohio State doesn't have a great offensive line, and again, McCord doesn't inspire confidence in me. So even if they're average to above average, they're still going to cause enough havoc, I think, to keep the points down.
Yep.
So I mean, I think that the defenses, like Ohio State, has at least played Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So
the best one of anybody in the Big Ten right now, right? Out of anybody who's played anybody in the Big Ten. Yeah,
Notre Dame's offense had a good offensive line, had a good running back.
They were scoring a ton of points too.
They have a good tight end. Yeah.
Well, Notre Dame was scoring points going in that game too. They scored a lot of points.
And also, one of the reasons they lost to Louisville was because I think all three of their receivers were injured, so they had literally no one to play. So
That
part of
shouldn't
that
have-
was just
And
They shouldn't
Louisville
have-
got rid of their coach and gave it to UC, so they had a chance to have a decent coach, and UC now sucks. Thanks, Scott Satterfield.
Well, yeah, and I think that Ohio State could sort of be in the same position a little bit as Penn State because both teams have only not really played anyone. Ohio State's played one team really in Maryland, if you count that. But
No, I don't.
I don't. Yeah, Diego's not here, but it's difficult because I sent you guys earlier this week some screenshots of Ohio State's rankings last year going into the Michigan game.
Mhm.
They were still top 10 everywhere. It all, I think all defensive positions
Sure.
in the country.
But the Big Ten isn't generally
And so
good outside
rankings-
of
yeah.
Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. That's just it. These guys compile these stats, these teams, because the Big Ten stinks.
Yeah, good point. And that's kind of the thing. The numbers look really, really good right now for both Penn State and Ohio State, just like they're going to all year because every team only plays one or two or three teams.
You know what makes me feel a lot better though is the fact that Notre Dame, while I think their offense is definitely not elite, they have a really good running game, a really good tight end, and their quarterback is efficient, but they don't have the deep passing game, but their defense is one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And they destroyed USC, who is, USC is known for not having a good defense. But their
USC
offense
is a
has
little
been,
soft too.
their offense has been amazing for
until
ever
they got
since
pushed
Caleb was in
around.
there. Well, that's what I'm saying. Notre Dame's defense was ridiculous. They had
Right.
3 interceptions. I mean,
And not
Caleb
to
Williams,
recap,
Caleb Williams has never had that happen to him ever.
but not to recap the Ohio State Notre Dame again, but the defense for Notre Dame had them winning the game. There was coaching lapses and execution lapses by Notre Dame that allowed Ohio State to come back and win that game.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking. It's not even really about winning or losing. It's just because we could have lost that by a couple points easily. But what I'm saying is the quarterback still made enough plays to keep us in the game, whereas Caleb Williams lost the game. Him and the offensive line lost that game. Their defense actually played okay, surprisingly. But, he threw 3 interceptions. Their offensive line got abused. And, he
got benched. The Heisman dude got benched.
Yeah. So, McCord is, not the best, but, he's still top 10 in efficiency in QBR. And, he definitely seems like he's, throwing off his back foot and could definitely lead his receivers more. He could pick up blitzes better, but, he did a lot better than the reigning Heisman winner did. So, maybe he's a little bit better than we think.
He doesn't pass the eye test, man. I watched McCord play.
No, that's what I agree with you. I don't think he passes the eye test.
Even when
either.
he talks, he doesn't sound confident.
I'm just comparing him to Caleb. I think he did way better than Caleb did. And
he doesn't. You don't
impressive.
look at him and inspire. Look at that guy as a great leader, a great quarterback. When you see him or hear him talk, I have zero confidence in that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think this game. I'm not gonna feel good about the pick because I feel like it's going to be so close. Whoever I would pick right now, just because of the injuries for Ohio State, I'm picking Penn State to win, just barely, maybe by a field goal, 24-21. But on the other hand, what's keeping me kind of thinking Ohio State too, just being at home, of course. But Kyle McCord looks bad. Sometimes he just looks awkward out there. But somehow he came back at Notre Dame.
That was still impressive.
They might just his nickname is what is it, McCrenzel? Because you just it's unbelievable that they keep winning. I remember 2002. That's a long time.
But Krenzel was at least more physically imposing. Dude came in from playing safety to play quarterback, maybe more Bowserman or whatever.
But yeah, I just can't. I can't pick the Buckeyes because of the injuries. But at the same time, McCord might just do something superhuman like he did against Notre Dame. And
we might have 3 first-round.
McCord didn't do anything superhuman against Notre Dame. What are you talking about?
Third down and 13, 4th down and 13, whatever, Matt.
Yeah, he made a bunch. His final drive, he made a bunch of killer throws.
It also helps when you have one less defender on the field than you're allowed by rule.
No, but see, that wasn't him. That was the running game. He got them down the field by making a bunch of amazing passes on 3rd and 4th down.
I love GOJ. I think he's related to Kyle McCord. He's super confident in Ohio State. I love it. Like, I love for somebody to be confident. I am negative by nature, so I'm negative here.
Well, you got 2 kids that are going to Ohio State right now.
I do, and the
So
problem
you
I have
better
with
get a
Ohio
win.
State right now is I had really no reason to care, not care, whatever, forever, other than like Matt and some other friends going. Now I have 2 kids. I'm paying a lot of money to Ohio State too, and they start sucking and losing to Michigan every time since they started going there. So
ever since your kids started going,
they're the problem apparently. Yep.
I like that prediction. Ohio State 38-17.
That's great, man. Like
I hope you're right.
They do. I hope they're able to roll over Penn State and McCord for GOJ's sake. Takes a step forward and looks good and confident.
Yeah, it is, and
it's weird. Like, so we've had a lot of really close games against Penn State,
true?
but we've also had a few where we blew them out. So
is that a true stat? That can't.
It feels true because I know a lot of the first half's been super low scoring.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm picking Penn State. I have to go with that. I can't.
Well, you're picking because you're a Michigan fan too,
I'm a hater.
automatically.
Yep.
Why? So why are you picking Penn State? What makes you feel good about Penn State?
I think their defense is for real this year, and I also think they're
why do you think it's for real though? Again, what offense have they've really played?
They haven't played anyone.
Exactly.
They haven't played anyone.
Hard. They look good on paper and stat wise, sure, but again, on the field, not really been challenged.
Yeah, I'm just comparing them to Ohio State's offense, basically.
Okay.
Offense
That's fair.
And Ohio State's defense hasn't necessarily played any great offenses either. I would say Maryland is a good offense, unless you disagree again, JJ.
Yeah, no, I would just say that I think the biggest difference is that Penn State's offense has not been good against the 2 very average defenses that they played.
Yeah, well,
that's the difference,
Penn State is going to have a good running game against Ohio State because I'm not sold on Ohio State's run defense, and I probably won't be until I actually see them stop.
Well, I'm not sold on their run defense either, but their running game has not. Their running backs have not been good.
That's going to be very dependent on the defensive line really getting the handle on the running backs because once you talked about the linebackers are a problem, and if their linebackers are expected to stop the running backs or fill these gaps, we've known so far they've been able.
Yeah, I mean, like we have an All-American at one defensive tackle, and the other defensive tackle is like all Big Ten.
All over Bowserman. That's just so good.
That is mean to call anyone Bowserman.
No, he sucked. He deserves it. He's probably a nice guy, but we're talking about field of play, not like how he is off the field. So, Bowserman, you suck.
Oh, they had. Was it 3rd and? It was not 3rd and 22. It was not that long.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow, and they had all 11. Yeah.
Listen, in the Notre game, Ohio State still had to execute. No doubt about it. They did what they needed to do, but there were some really stupid decisions on when Notre Dame had the last time they had the ball in offense and not clock management, and then some weird stuff there at the very end. So, but if Ohio
again, that's not going to Kyle McCord though. That's going to the coaches.
That's right. That's right. All right. Hey, thanks, JJ.
Yeah, and we call you JJ too. Just the letter JJ.
Yep, I like JJ. JJ, we're buddies here.
Brian doesn't think much of the offensive lines, apparently.
As Matt pointed out at the beginning, Ohio State
that's
have a lot of
the
sacks,
whole year.
Right. And my question was, what do the defensive hurries look like? How much time do the opposing quarterbacks have? Get rid of the ball before, and maybe they may not be getting sacks, but they may be pressuring the other quarterbacks.
Yeah, they haven't. Maybe one of the reasons why we haven't given up a single big pass play all year is because they're trying to do fast passes so they don't get sacked.
That's right. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What else we got? There's a lot of comments coming in now. We've got a little bit of crowd going. JJ, GOG, Brian.
The Ohio State run defense it's been questionable for the last couple of years, and they've been taken advantage of by some teams. So,
well, that's why they were called soft, right? By Coach Lou and some other people, and that's what they took exception to.
Yeah, and Brian's right too. No teams reached a 1st and goal versus Michigan. They've gotten touchdowns, long touchdowns, where they've broken down a little bit, but
Yeah,
Michigan hasn't played.
inside the 10, they've
Yeah,
never
but
made it inside the 10.
Michigan's been playing like JUCO teams. Like, who have they played?
Yeah,
Honestly, no, who have they played? Tell me.
Rutgers.
Nobody.
Rutgers is the best team they played.
Rutgers should be kicked out of the Big Ten. Those guys are.
But the thing
they
is,
never
that's
deserve to be
still
in
an
the league. They're
impressive
terrible.
stat.
Terrible.
That's still an impressive stat for it to go.
I'll be back in
all
2 minutes, guys.
That is listen, that is a good stat, right? I mean, you are playing Division I championship series football. That's fine, but Michigan hasn't played anybody, Nate. And how confident are you in Michigan this year, given the fact they haven't really had any competition?
I don't know. I'm pretty confident in the sense because all of the players played last year have returned. And
But the quarterback plays taking a step backwards, it feels like.
no, it's taken a step forward.
Really?
JJ McCarthy is a much better quarterback this year than he was last year.
Okay.
Much better. He doesn't have the stats. And that's kind of the problem, though. Michigan does not play in the type of offense that's going to get your quarterback some Heisman talk, even if they win all the games. He just doesn't have the stats. They pull out the starters in the middle of the third quarter. Granted, because of the competition, but then they just start running the ball. Harbaugh does not chase stats whatsoever. It's good and bad. He's also trying to keep the guys healthy all year because the gauntlet at the end is coming. We've got to close out the Big Ten. We've got Penn State, Maryland, and then Ohio State.
Again, don't like Maryland's solid, but like, man, I wouldn't give them credit for being a tough play ever. Their offense is better than average for the Big Ten. They don't really have a great defense. I just don't like throwing Maryland in as a tough team. I agree with Penn State.
Yeah. Okay, question. Does the winner of this game, Ohio State and Penn State, I'm guessing, challenge Michigan? Or do you see a dreaded three-way tie? Ooh. Is that possible?
I think, yeah, well, it's not going to be a tie because I mean, we have tiebreakers.
Well, they all play each other, so they all have one
Yeah.
loss.
There's like some elaborate tiebreaker system based. I think it goes once it gets down to the fifth tiebreaker, which is your opponent's records. And so right now, Penn State would have the best opponent's records because somehow Iowa is doing better than Wisconsin this year. Everyone thought it was going to be Ohio State. So if we lose this game, we're most likely out.
Yeah, they basically default to the BCS formula.
Yeah, so if Ohio State, this
tie.
game is actually not for Buckeye fans, but for winning the Big Ten. This game is more important than Michigan because if we win this game and then lose to Michigan, we could still make it into the playoffs. But if we lose this game, we're toast.
Yeah, GOJ, man, like it's not wrong.
Yeah,
not wrong about it. And you know what? Like it's like teams are starting to figure out, why do I schedule a Notre Dame or a USC in the beginning? Because if we win out, if we win the Big Ten, we're going to the playoffs.
Well, it just depends. I mean, certain years there's teams that didn't make the playoffs because their strength of schedule wasn't good enough, and other times, it's hurt teams because they wouldn't have had that loss had they not played the other team. So I mean, you just never know. It's a crapshoot whether it helps or hurts.
Yeah, and it's true. And next year it's gonna suck. Michigan's schedule sucks. We play Texas in the non-conference, then we get all of those West Coast teams coming in from the Pac-12. Where we're playing USC and Washington. Man, I guarantee. I'm not going to guarantee, but it does feel like Harbaugh is going to go. He's out. I mean, this would be the year to do it.
Well, he's going to lose JJ. He's going to lose Corum. He's going to lose probably a decent amount of those offensive linemen. I don't know how many of your defenders are coming back though. Nate, did you lose your defense this year? After this year?
Some on defense, yeah.
But I mean, you're losing a lot of the stars, especially the quarterback. Losing the quarterback is a big deal. Like losing him, and then having a really hard schedule next year. But the thing is, you can lose a couple games because you only need to be top 12.
That's true. With the way it works next year, that's true.
Yeah, everybody shrink the schedule too, and the big will kick up with these Big 12 or whatever Pac-10 or the hell conference teams are coming with Washington, USC, and Oregon, and everything else.
It's funny. I saw a really funny stat. They were saying how many teams were in each conference based on the new reorganization. So right now the SEC has 8 ranked teams. That would be including Texas and Oklahoma. The new Big Ten has 8 ranked teams. The Big 12 has 1 ranked team, and the Pac-2 has 1 ranked team.
I think you should do like soccer, where like the crap teams get relegated to a lower league, and those become the ones outside. Like, and you got to play yourself back up.
Yeah, I like that idea.
It takes some of the crap and fluff out of some of these conferences.
Yeah, we need to, instead of just expanding, we need to get rid of some teams.
Yeah,
we need to get rid of
Big Ten
Purdue.
has
We need to get rid of Northwestern. We need to get rid of Maryland.
Rutgers, Nebraska.
We need to cut the fat.
Nebraska's never going to be good at football. Never.
Might. You never know.
No, what makes you think Nebraska, they haven't been good in 25 years, is going to be good at football?
The coach. I mean, got to give him some time. What's his name? What's his name? I can't even.
Why would you, if you're a top?
I can't think of his name.
Rule is the coach of Nebraska. He's a good coach.
He's a good coach.
If you're a top recruit, why would you go to Nebraska?
NIL. Do they have a good NIL? I don't know. I don't know if they have a good NIL.
You get paid in cattle? What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting rid of any Big Ten teams. I mean,
I think
won't,
because it's all money and like the geography of like media and everything else. That's why you got Rutgers and some of these other gross schools. But
yeah, it's very true.
DOJ advocating that Nebraska's a academic school, or I know Rutgers is.
Yeah, a lot of academic schools, good ones. Northwestern. I mean, we're going to keep those.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is all about tradition, so they're going to keep those schools for sure.
They could technically get rid of Nebraska because they were an AAU school when they were invited, but they are no longer an AAU team. So
I just don't know what Nebraska's bringing at all.
Certainly not. I mean, I guess there's probably, even though they don't have a lot of people there, they probably still have a decent sized national audience, right? Because their brand is big. So maybe you get a lot of eyeballs on TV because of they're such a big national brand, even though they aren't good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. It's been an hour. I've got to go watch The Bachelor.
You want me? Am I supposed to do rapid fire for you guys?
Yeah, rapid fire.
Do you have any rapid fire? All right, let's do it.
I absolutely do. Matt, we're going to start with you, and Nate, we're going to talk quarterbacks, both of you guys. So confidence level in McCord right now on scale 1 to 10.
6.5.
6.5.
Ooh. That's not just for Penn State. That's in general.
I'm feeling more confident about my Penn State pick now.
Have you seen McCord give an interview and talk?
No.
Okay, that's why he's 6.5. Got it. Okay, try to catch him talking.
Seems low energy.
You come back to me. He seems low energy and not confident. I just don't feel it. Nate, what about you, quarterback play? Where are you rating right now on your confidence level 1 to 10?
For Michigan, JJ McCarthy, it's at like a 9. The dude's awesome.
9.
I'm serious. He's throwing he's already projected to be first round pick.
I think he has the number 1 QBR in the country, doesn't he?
Yeah. He has the highest completion percentage right now, or one of the highest.
He's playing junior college teams. He should.
Yeah, he should. You're right.
All right, we're going to go coaching. Nate, we're running really fast. Where are we at with coaching the whole staff this year? Head coach on down to your specialty positions. 1 to 10.
Oh, you mean all together? Or
I'm going Nate
individually?
Nate this time. Nate, can you hear me?
Oh, is that me?
You're Nate, right?
I am Nate. Yes, that's true. Yeah, confidence level, huge confidence level in coaching. Harbaugh, ever since 2020, when they had that debacle of a year, and they cut his pay, and then he came back and started winning. He's totally changed the culture, got brand new coaches. He's done everything that you really need to do as a head coach, which is hire awesome assistant coaches. He's done it all down the line. Like, all those guys are going to be both coordinators are going to be head coaches. There's going to be some guys backing up like this. Like, I know Mike Hart is going to be a head coach someday. Huge confidence in the head coach.
Minter
done an awesome job. Minter, yeah. Defensive coordinator, like two hires now have been awesome. Been great. Yeah. Michigan's defense is killing it.
So I'm going to rephrase this question to Matt then. Tell me why we should be confident in Ryan Day and his staff.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have like the elite staff positions in every. I mean, there's certain positions that are not quite elite. Like we've not had an elite offensive line coach in a while. That's been a problem for the last 3 or 4 years. We have not gotten that elite offensive line coach, and I think our defense is playing better. We still don't seem to get a lot of interceptions in the secondary. I don't know. Like we got some good coaches from UC, but for some reason we don't get a lot of picks from the secondary. I think when I think Burke got one a couple weeks ago. That was the first time a cornerback had an interception in like a year and a half, which is absurd. That like all this talent that comes here, we can't get interceptions.
I love that comment.
Read it. I'm on my phone. I can't see it. Read it.
Says JJ will make a great first round pick for a Canadian team.
Yeah. So with the other coaches, like I mean, Larry Johnson, I think has been really good throughout his career. I don't know if he's last year. I think he didn't do a good job with. He rotated too much and played some of our bad linemen like Jerron Cage and Teron Vincent, who are very, very like below average players, and he let them play a ton while like Tyleik Williams and Mike Hall did not play hardly at all for some reason. I know part of that was injuries and maybe Williams might have been overweight, but because he hasn't had the elite defensive line player since.
But it's his job
since
though,
Chase Young left.
Set the staff and get everybody. So that's a very long-winded answer of like you don't have the greatest confidence in Ryan Dana's staff right now.
He was trying to wear you up.
I think Hartline,
he was doing a good job.
Hartline and whoever is coaching our tight ends. I'm not even sure who coaches our tight ends. Our tight ends have been good, and Hartline has been good. We need a better offensive line coach. I think Larry Johnson needs to retire finally. He's the last 2020, 2021, 2022, 23.
This is a lightning round, Matt, and it's supposed to be like rapid fire, like you're droning.
I know. I'm rambling like Diego, aren't I? Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to think if we have I think our secondary guys are a little bit unproven yet. I mean, the defense is playing well, but I don't know. They're young still, so it's hard to really judge. I think the Michigan has a lot better. A lot of their assistant coaches, I think like their defensive coordinator, their offensive line coach, I think is definitely better. So they have some definite coaching advantages right now too. That's really been helping them the last few years.
All right, last question, you guys.
But listen to JJ. He's saying, is that true, Matt? Have you heard that too? LJ and Knowles are butting heads about the DL.
Yes, that's true.
In Knowles' scheme.
Good. So you've got some.
Yeah. That's definitely been an issue.
Really?
Well,
that's not good.
Last question, you guys, so we can wrap this up. Does having game day at your school help or hurt you?
I think it definitely helps. Yeah, it's all about recruiting these days, NIL and publicity.
But for that game that you're playing, so does that give extra confidence and boost to Ohio State, or does that put extra pressure on them?
Oh, I don't think there's any pressure from that. You think kids are getting pressure because game day's there? I don't think so. I think that they love that.
National game, man.
Yeah, it's like the bling, like like Colorado. Everyone is talking about them, and they're trying to sell merchandise at halftime during their games now on Instagram. they love all this attention, these kids nowadays.
I agree.
Right, Nate, what do you think?
I think it helps for sure. I mean, it gives probably a little extra oomph for all those players, man, knowing that they're going to be on national TV. Of course, they're always going to be, but the game of the week and game days there, man. Yeah, I think it just pumps their blood.
I'll go with that. Good answers, guys. You're not morons. Congratulations.
Yeah, it is. Not morons. that's good. Yeah.
I'm not usually so kind in private, so take this in a public setting, Nate.
Yeah, that's very true. You're being nice in public. Hey, heck yeah, man. Urban on the sidelines shaking his head. Did we get a visual on that? I hope so.
He's shaking his head, not a co-ed's ass.
Yeah, JJ said Urban will be on the sidelines this game, probably shaking his head again. LOL.
I think James Franklin's always good for 1 or 2 chokes a year. So
yeah, that's the other thing. That's a big difference. Is I definitely, whether or not you like Ryan Day as a coach, he's definitely better and more consistent than Franklin, who consistently blows games because of his stupid decisions.
That post could single-handedly make me change my mind about Penn State winning that.
Yeah. I mean, Franklin is like, he just always screws it up. He's like Marcus Freeman at the end of the Notre Dame game, except for he does it every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He does screw something up. So
Thanks, Aaron, for that. That was great. That was a great comment.
Yeah,
we
I
agree
forgot
with
to
you.
make fun of.
Yeah,
Frick
we
James.
forgot like the most important reason why Ohio State will probably win is because of Franklin.
James Franklin.
I might change my change my pick by the end of the week. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. We're signing off here. But
Yeah, and thanks for
everyone.
everybody in the comments. You guys are funny. Made some great comments on there, and they made this a lot more enjoyable.
I know the last comments made me feel worse about the pick. Penn State picking 24-21.
You guys have some bright people that follow your channel, so well done.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, we'll see. I'm still picking that though. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks guys for joining. I like the rapid fire. We're gonna have to do that again, and then we'll have another video after the game. We'll kind of go over everything and see what happened and see who is right and see who sucks. All right,
Go Bucks.
All right, go Bucks.
Woo.